Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Investing in New York with me, Christina Cremidas. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about what to expect if you are thinking about getting into real estate. So stay tuned, we're covering everything here. This is Real Estate Investing in New York with Christina Cremidas, helping you achieve a future of financial success by making intelligent real estate investment decisions today. Thank you guys for being here. This is a topic that we get asked to discuss all the time from people who are considering getting into the real estate industry. I think that a lot of people feel that looking in from the outside, that real estate is going to be kind of glamorous, that it's going to be, you're going to be in and out of beautiful apartments all day long and working with really cool people. And while that's definitely partially true, there's so much more that you need to be prepared for before making the leap into this industry. And that is what I want to focus on here. The most common question that people ask me is how to find the right real estate company for you. This is really a personal thing, and my advice when it comes to finding a real estate firm that you think you would thrive at is, what are you exactly looking for? Are you someone who has a professional background where you have a large network of people who you might be able to tap into that may be interested in purchasing real estate? Because if so, you could probably do very well at a large firm on your own, sourcing out your network connections and bringing your newly developing expertise to the table and helping out your friends and family if they're in the market to buy. If you are not in that situation, then you're going to be looking at firms very differently. What I recommend to people who do not have an existing potential portfolio of business is to look at smaller companies, small firms that appeal to new agents that are interested in taking on new agents will usually offer better training for the real basics, like condos versus co-ops, how to fill out financial statements. Things like this that are very, very basic are not really offered in trainings at the big, large heritage branded companies. So you're going to want to look for smaller shops that might give you more one-on-one training. As a brand new agent, you're going to need one-on-one training, even if you do have a network of people who might be interested in buying. So regardless of where you go, I do think that you need to express interest in the types of training that you're going to be getting and making sure that it meets your needs. Large companies do not give you clients or leads. Sometimes you'll get like walk-ins, potential client walk-ins that go into the office, and that you get matched up with an agent if you happen to be sitting in the office that day. But if you're in Manhattan, there really is no walk-in traffic because your office is at the top of a large building, for example, and there's no storefront where people are just walking in. So with that said, if you want to receive leads and clients from your company, you're going to want to go to a smaller shop that has some kind of a business model where there are leads, a lot of leads getting given out to the new agents. And as long as you convert those leads, you'll be able to graduate to bigger and bigger opportunities, and you can go about getting into the industry that way. If you want to be at a big shop, at a big company with a big name, like let's say Douglas Elliman, or you want to be at Compass or Corcoran, and you don't want to go to a smaller shop, but you do feel like you need that one-on-one help and assistance getting in, I recommend you interview on teams. Interview with different teams, look up online teams that might be good for you, the ones that are doing a lot of business, that you admire, that you look up to, and try to get on a team. The one thing I will say about teams is that even though you'll probably get more one-on-one attention, they're not always interested in training a brand new agent from scratch about the 101s about how this real estate industry works. So you are going to want to make sure that you're doing your own research. Honestly, a lot of agents reach out and say that they're using this podcast or this YouTube series as their agent training, because we do talk about all the basics, but you are going, regardless of where you end up, you're going to want to do a lot of learning and research yourself to make sure that when it comes to calculating debt to income ratios, meeting co-op requirements, you know these fundamental basics, because even if you have the most nurturing team, there's only so much patience they're going to have for someone that comes in completely clueless. You want to be prepared for the fact that regardless of where you end up, this is a very sink or swim environment. And what I mean by that is that not everybody is cut out to be a real estate agent in New York. And if your company or your team feels that they've deduced that you are not someone that was cut out for this, there's not going to be any time taken to cultivate your success or to nurture you to success. You are going to be like kicked to the curb. If you're not on a team and you're working at a larger company, no one's going to try to get rid of you if you're not producing business. I mean, I don't think so. Maybe that could happen, but it's less of a fear, but more of a fear of you're not going to get the support that you need. No one is going out of their way to help you, really, unless you take the initiative yourself. So if you're someone that likes to be handheld, not saying that in a negative way, but if you do appreciate nurturing, like a nurturing environment, and someone that will hold your hand and guide you and be sensitive to you, and who will ask you like how you're feeling, how you're doing, this is really not the environment for you. If you're not producing, you almost don't really have value in a brokerage environment. Brokerages are very focused on people who are going to grow the business and who are going to bring more business to the company. And if that's not you, you feel sort of like you're not appreciated or that they're not seeing your value. In certain corporate types of jobs or industries, there are entire teams of people, sometimes it's HR or it's like, employee happiness experts that really will sit down with you and they'll see what are your strong suits and what are your weaknesses, and they will help you kind of get to a position in a company that would be a good fit for you. This is absolutely not that. This is like if you're not bringing in business or bringing in money, there's really no role for you here. And the reason why I'm so straightforward about that is because I think that people overestimate the support they're going to get. I think that people underestimate what's going to be required from them when they get into the real estate industry. And then they're left in a tough spot where they don't have a lot of options or solutions other than to leave the industry and have to start from scratch again. Because if you're not doing well at one agency, it's going to be difficult to get picked up by another one as well. Unlike other corporate environments where the company has already gotten the business and now they're hiring for a support role or maybe a manager to handle that existing business, a brokerage model, which is what real estate is, actually requires you to bring that business and to always be getting new business. And this is what is challenging for most people. It's one thing to be able to manage existing business and another thing to be looking for new business. And that's the reason why I say that it's very sink or swim and that your value is often derived from the business that you're able to grow, and someone that's not growing business is not seen as very valuable. On that note, there is no salary. A lot of people do actually reach out to me and ask if we have any salaried positions available. When it comes to the brokerage system, there are very few salaried positions available. And if you are interested in real estate agent job, that is not a salaried position. You are working solely off of commission. So only when your deal closes are you getting paid for that transaction. And there is nothing to hold you over in the meantime. If you are looking for a salaried position within the real estate companies, there are administrative positions that you can take, but they're going to be a very different style of job than an agent role. And I would assume that if you're looking into the real estate industry, that you want the autonomy and the ability to be a business entrepreneur that comes along with working in this role. If you're looking for an administrative role, you could take one in real estate, or you could take an office or a corporate job literally anywhere. It's going to be very similar. There are specific traits that I believe are present in great agents, and I do believe that these traits are not taught. I think that they are just owned inherent traits in people, and I will list what I believe they are, and really it's a matter of being honest with yourself. Are we describing you when I list these traits out, or are we not describing you? If you're missing these traits that I'm mentioning here, truly you should stay away from real estate altogether. And the reason why I say it again so specifically and so directly is because I think that real estate seems like a comforting job for many people because they feel it might offer flexibility, or they feel that it might be something where they have like ultimate control. And though you do have ultimate control in this business, and you can to a certain extent like control whether you have to go to a meeting or not, it's not due to any lack of time that you are spent working. So maybe you can clear your schedule for a Monday obligation for your child, let's say, but you're probably working the whole day on Sunday, for example. So it's no less hours. It's just a matter of how you can kind of carve out your time for your necessary personal things while still doing a ton of work and putting in a ton of hours. So with that said, the specific character traits that I notice in great agents are problem solving. Can you be confronted with a problem and think about different solutions and come up with different solutions that might appease everyone involved, even if their opinions are conflicting? Critical thinking. When it comes to how you're able to navigate a situation, are you someone that can think 5 steps ahead of the other people that you're dealing with? You need to be able to understand how things that you say and do are going to come back potentially to bite you later, and you need to understand when you're dealing with buildings and management companies and boards and clients especially, how every single thing that happens is a piece of a bigger puzzle, and to be able to make connections in advance. And of course this comes with practice, but the innate ability to do this and to think fundamentally and to be a problem solver, I believe, is something that you're mostly born with versus something that you're taught. Organization is huge, and I feel that this was really hit home in the first company where I started out. It was a small company, and I did get phenomenal training, and this is where I learned the power of organization. If you're not the most organized person to begin with, you can get away with that, but you're going to have to get really organized to be in this business. And I think that you can get away with it if you have the other traits, which I'm going to mention, which include self-discipline and things like this, because organization is absolutely necessary when it comes to running a business and managing a business, which is really what you're doing whenever you are managing clients of any kind and the projects that you're working on with these clients. You are keeping track of literally hundreds of people at a time, and you're usually you're on the phone with hundreds of people in a week. So you do need a great way of organizing the people that you've spoken to, what the current status is, every single deal that you are working on, and where you're at with each of those deals, and the very last thing you spoke about with every single person that you spoke to. And there's different reasons why this is the case. Sometimes you need to go back and prove a series of events that's happened, and instead of at that time having to go back and finding a million different phone calls and emails, it should all, it's easiest for it to all be recorded. But really, just from a matter of success, you'd be so surprised how often you go back to someone that you spoke to a year ago. And to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, the last time we spoke, you were discussing X, Y, and Z. Where are we at now? What's the deal now? This is the only way to become successful, because people that you've spoken to a year ago are going to be people that you close deals with this year. And it's only with proper organization and keeping track of things that you will be able to convert that person a year from now. And when it comes to daily deal flow and all of the minuscule, sometimes seeming tasks that you have to deal with every single day to get your active clients to their closing date is another very big deal when it comes to if something falls through the cracks, it's really, really bad. There's no good explanation for it, and there is no way around it when you are answering to a client and if something fell through the cracks. So it's up to you to get that client to their goal, and it requires the utmost organization. Not being afraid to speak on the phone or to reach out to people. I think it's very difficult, maybe especially, but I don't know, maybe it was always a issue for people, but when it comes to speaking on the phone or getting in touch with someone, and not being afraid to follow up with them multiple times. Most times that you speak to someone, they're not going to want to talk to you, or maybe they are interested in talking to you, but it's not a great time for them, and you only get so much time on the phone. Really following up with someone and being able to check in regularly and be an active presence in that person's life, especially in the beginning of dealing with a client, is absolutely critical to becoming a successful agent. And there are a lot of people that I speak to who say, oh, I felt like I was bothering them, so I stopped calling them. No, we have to be comfortable with bothering people sometimes, because at the end of it, after you've spoken with them 20 times, they will turn around and tell you, honestly, I'm only working with you because you actually seemed like you were interested in working with me, and I saw your dedication to this, and it makes me feel like you would be able to negotiate with anybody or stay on top of my file and make sure that you do a great job for me. So every single call you make and every single follow-up that you make is not just nagging the person, though sometimes it feels like that, it's also kind of proving yourself too. Self-discipline is another one of the extremely important characteristics that I think are not as much learned as you are born with it, but it's really just the ability to try to silence everything else that's going on around you and be strict with yourself and be honest with yourself to be able to accomplish a task when it has to get done. Autonomy. Everybody wants a job that's autonomous. Everybody wants to be able to be their own boss and do what they want when they want. But to actually be able to lead clients to success, and you being the only person really that's looked at as the authority figure to help that happen and to facilitate that happening, is a totally different story. You do need to be able to run the business, to make critical decisions without being micromanaged by someone else. Also, just being outgoing, always looking for new opportunities, kind of keeping your ear out for things that are developing, things that are happening. And this is also something that's learned. I think this is one of the ones fairly that is more learned than something you're born with. And there's options for, eventually once you're in the business, you can always help help yourself if you're not great with this by bringing on maybe a business professional like partner or like business development partner that can help you stay on top of this stuff while you're doing day-to-day things. There's always, ways that you can get yourself to the ultimate goal, but it's just a matter of being dedicated and staying on brand to yourself and staying true to your craft while you're navigating all of the day-to-day things that you have to do for the job. Culture. Every company has different culture, but I do think that other types of corporate roles focus much more on your comfort level as an employee there and whether you're happy and whether you're tracking to your own personal goals. A lot of companies will have opportunities to sit down and discuss your progress with your manager, and you can discuss your goals or what you'd eventually like to be working on, and they will help get a path together for you so that you can follow a specific set of sort of like instructions or milestones so that you can ultimately get to your final goal. That is absolutely not what happens in this industry. There is no one that is dedicated to your success, and there is no one that is going to really set aside the time to nurture you in that way. And when it comes to your overall satisfaction as an employee in the business, it's a totally different culture than what you'd find elsewhere. It's really like, if you're not happy, you don't have to be here. That's usually the way it is at most brokerages, and they're more interested in what you're bringing to the table for the company than what they're like offering you sort of as an employee perk. Like, you're not getting that's one other thing too. You're not getting health benefits. You're not getting, again, the salary. You're not really doing it for any of those reasons. It's not as much like a place that they're striving to be a place of comfort for you to come in and feel great at work. It's really like, where, can we give you you the right computer to make sure that you are generating as much business as possible, and it kind of like ends there. Aside from a few, nice office perks, that's really all you're getting. Another interesting thing when it comes to culture is that HR is present. Obviously, like improper behavior is not tolerated. But when it comes to like agent to agent communications or arguments or mishaps, there's not really like a person that's going to step in and mediate a situation. It's very much like you're kind of on your own in that respect. You need to hold your own, and oftentimes there are certain things that can be escalated, but a lot of times too, if another agent makes you like uncomfortable or uneasy, unless they're doing something unlawful, it's going to probably just be left at that, and you're going to need to move on from it. Again, like reiterating the fact that improper behavior is not tolerated anywhere. It's not really the place where you're going to like run to your manager and say that you had a bad experience with an employee. There are no quarterly check-ins in this industry. There's no annual reviews that you have with like your manager. Of course, if you're on a small team, I'm sure that they will implement their own systems for how to let you know if you're doing good or bad. But usually it's pretty obvious. Like, are you making money or not? If you're making money, everyone's going to be happy with you. And if you're not making money, then there's a problem. But other than that, you don't have to wait for a raise or a promotion to make more money. It's really just up to you and what you're able to produce, which is great. But also the downside to that is that pay is not regular. Your salary, not salary because there is no salary, but your pay often fluctuates with the market. So if it's more difficult to get a deal done in a certain market, or if there's more or less buyers out at one given time, less or more transactions going on, your pay for that year will likely reflect that environment. So it's volatile. You need to be comfortable with that. Really, there's very little that you can do to predict aside from just knowing that you're going to grind no matter what. It's not regular. Your paychecks are not scheduled. You do not make the, every other week paycheck. You're only getting paid when your deal closes, and closing dates are never predictable. It could take several months to close transactions, and sometimes even longer than that if there are delays. And you're not seeing paychecks hitting your bank account regularly. Usually you're getting like higher amounts that hit your account more spread apart than like your typical bi-weekly sort of style in a corporate environment. And it's up to you to generate multiple transactions that can be going on at any one given time so that you can create a steady income for yourself, but you are not in control of when that paycheck hits your account. You have to account for marketing and budgeting in order to grow your business. So if you're not working on a team where generating leads maybe is not your personal responsibility, but it's the responsibility of the team leader, then you do need to sit down and have a real conversation with yourself about budgeting. What percentage of your paycheck are you going to allocate towards different marketing programs that you feel would work for your business on a personal level? If you're going to try to engage in lead generating activities, they're extremely expensive. So you do want to understand that you might be spending just as much money on marketing yourself that you are actually making. Something to keep in mind too. And on the topic of money, your taxes are not taken out of your paychecks when you earn them. You have to take it upon yourself to set aside your money that you are going to put towards taxes. Sometimes it's a little bit unpredictable. You don't know what the end of your income is going to look like. So you don't know always how much to set aside. Sometimes people take a percentage of every paycheck and they put it to the side. Sometimes they take the money out in advance and they just put it away. And sometimes they don't budget at all, and they find out at the end of the year what they owe, and it can be pretty significant, and you need to make sure you have it. So just keep in mind that that's not something that is done for you. Your tax money is not set aside in advance the way it is if you are earning a paycheck from a company where you are an employee. As a real estate agent, you are wearing every single hat that exists in a business. You are the advertiser. You are the negotiator. You are the project manager. You are the organizer. You are the creative director. You are making your own marketing materials. You are doing everything from A to Z yourself. So this is incredible for some people that feel like they're currently in a position in their office where they're put in a box. Some people feel like I want to, work outside of the funnel that I'm in right now, but anytime I reach out, this was kind of my personal experience too. Anytime I tried to work on a different part of the business or solve a problem that wasn't mine to solve, I was reeled back in and told to be back in the box. Like all they needed me to do was A to B. And that was even in a supervisor role, was still very restrictive. It felt very restrictive. This is 0% restrictive, but again, for the wrong person, it's just way too much in order to actually become successful. For the right person, I think it's phenomenal. You'll be very fulfilled. You definitely need to expect to be a people person. If you're not a people person, I think it would be difficult to get very far. You want to be someone who is sensitive to what other people are saying. You need to be able to pick up on cues. Sometimes your clients will not tell you really what they mean directly. You're often reading between the lines at what someone might mean when they say a certain thing. And someone who is able to get clarity during a conversation, not being afraid to ask follow-up questions and try to really get to the bottom of what is going on during a conversation with a client, instead of walking away and making assumptions on what we were just talking about, or making assumptions about how that client feels. Really being comfortable engaging in back and forth communication with that person is going to help you get to the goal. And always, there's no way around being in touch with people all day long in this business. So if you tend to be introverted, you might find that this job or this industry is very draining on your energy. But if you are a people person, likely you will be very energized by being in this industry. If you are coming from a typical office job where you work Monday through Friday, get ready to say goodbye to your weekends off. Weekends are usually your busiest days when it comes to client appointments. If you have a partner that you are with, or whatever the case is that you live with, who works regular office hours, like maybe 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, it is very important for you to be aware of the fact that you are about to have an opposite schedule from your partner. And this is really, I think, harder than it sounds, because a lot of times we're told opposites attract and yin and yang and everything can be complementary. But even from my own personal account, it is very challenging to have a schedule that becomes very demanding when your partner is ready to wind down. It's a lot to manage, and it's really, make sure that you're someone that is okay with that. Because if you do feel like you are someone that is tempted to ignore calls or try to not work when your partner or when your friends are looking to hang out, then you can very well run into an issue of productivity. You might not be able to get to where you want to go simply because you're not making yourself available during the times when you would rather hang out. And it doesn't make you a bad person for doing that, for wanting to hang out and have a traditional work schedule. It doesn't at all make you worse of a person. It's just that you have to understand that going into this, if you choose this role, that you are not going to be available when your friends are going out to dinner or when your husband wants to get brunch on the weekends. It's not always going to happen. And you'll need to carefully carve out the right times so that you can be present for the important things and that you can properly manage your relationships. But it's not an inherently easy thing to do. My clients are always looking to go out on showings or looking for me to host their open houses on days when 99.9% of buyers are available, which is evenings and weekends. So that is when you're likely getting busy. It's going to be the evenings and the weekends. Regular 9 to 5 office hours are going to be your catch-up time mostly. You'll be meeting maybe other entrepreneurial clients that have their own work schedules too during the daytime hours, but it's not going to be as common as you find yourself meeting people on the weekends and in the evenings. And the last important thing that I would like to mention that you would like to be aware of when you are considering transitioning into the real estate industry is that you should definitely be ready and prepared to be happy, super, super happy, but also super, super hurt by the people closest to you. And what I mean by this is that when you get into this industry, you are working solely on commission. And your clients are like everything to you. Like if you can generate deals and if you can generate business, you know that you're going to be okay. And it seems like the easiest thing that people who care about you can do is to work with you, right? Like if you have a friend or a family member who's looking at apartments, you might find out about that after the fact. Like they may have gone ahead and bought something or started meeting up with other people as their broker before they mention to you that they're in the market. Part of the reason for this is because they might not think off the top of their head, right? Like, oh, I should call this person that's an agent. Like, we're not always top of mind the way we think we are. And the other reason for it is that a lot of times family and friends don't want you to know their personal business, and they think that you being their broker is going to mean that you're going to see all their financials, you're going to see what's in their savings account, you're going to see how much income they really make. And it's not something that everyone is comfortable with. And there are ways to help people become comfortable with that. You know, I tell my clients that are friends all the time, like, I don't have to be involved in that process. You know, like I'll defer to your mortgage lender. I will trust what your mortgage lender is telling me when you get a pre-approval letter, and I hire a professional when we complete the applications. And you know, of course I'm going to oversee things, but I don't have to be in the weeds in terms of all of your personal info if that's what you want. You know, it's not, and also too, like I've seen people with very low dollar amounts in their accounts and people with endless amounts in their bank. Like nothing phases. Once you're an agent, nothing's going to phase you. It doesn't matter if your friend is a bajillionaire or like barely making any money at all. Like really nothing matters to you in terms of that, but it's very personal for some people. And when you find out that a friend of yours went ahead and used maybe a different agent or didn't choose to work with you, it hurts. Like it's really, really hurtful, but you don't want to take it personally, and it just reminds you to stay top of mind with everyone in your network and to always let your family and friends know that you're interested in working with them, because you are, and sometimes they don't even know that. So I think that, and of course, like what I meant when I said happy is that when they do reach out to you, you're going to be thrilled, because there's nothing more fun than working with someone that you love and that you know and that you care about. And it's just a completely different feeling when you're working with someone that you have a history with. So I think that that is another really interesting thing to keep in mind. This industry is an emotional roller coaster, but also phenomenal for the right person. If you have the traits that I mentioned earlier, and if you do find that you are a self-disciplined, hardworking person, I think it's definitely a career that you should explore getting into. If you are interested in working at Douglas Elliman or for my team specifically, you can always reach out. My email address is christina.cremidas@elliman.com. We actually are considering bringing on an agent potentially to join our team. So we are definitely more than open to chatting with you and helping you answer the questions that you might have when it comes to getting into the industry. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who you think might benefit from hearing this info. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be alerted when new episodes are shared. Always reach out to me if you'd like to work with me as your agent. I'm always thrilled when I hear from my listeners or from my viewers that you'd like to work together. And don't miss the next episode. We have a lot of great content planned for you, so stay tuned.